welcome to the Product House, where two friends nerd out about the product. Hello, Kiet. How are you today?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. I'm excited about today's topic. We've been talking about learning and staying relevant as a product manager for a while now. So I'm super nerdy and keen about the topic. So I'm good. How about you?
I'm good. I'm also very excited around that because I don't know how all the people are keeping up with all these new things in the market at the moment. Like it's just as a product manager, I don't know if you realize, especially with the AI, like a kind of hype coming out at the moment. I feel like everyone is doing some sort of courses. Everyone is going to meet up. I just don't know how people actually have all the time to do all these sort of things. So what are you learning at the moment, Kiet?
What am I learning? I just recently bought a pizza oven, right? And oh man, it's such a rabbit hole. But aside from that, there's a lot of excitement in the AI space, right? And so really, I come from a graphic design background and kind of pairing that with what are all the different things I can do with all the different AI tools. That's been a hell of a fun ride. So yeah.
How did you learn the AI stuff at the moment?
For me, I was never really good at school. So sitting down and reading stuff is not my style of learning. So
Yeah.
It's really just trying to do stuff on the job. That's really the easiest way for me to learn. So a lot of times it's really, I challenge myself, of the stuff that I do at work, how much of it I can actually be more efficient with by just using something like a ChatGPT, right? Or a Leonardo AI as an example.
That was a very cool use cases you showed me last time. Like, again, I know we can't go into a specific kind of details around that, but it's the way how you'll be able to turn some of the almost like a client stories into using Leonardo's AI to turn them into a comic and then to be able to play back the story in the very, very different format. I found that super cool. So did you actually just, how did you find about all these tools and how did you even thinking about to leverage, I guess, AI to do that?
In this particular use case, it was in the consulting world we write a lot of proposals, and sometimes you have to visualize for the storytelling. And in this case, we in the past have actually paid people to kind of create comic strips, and usually it does take a little bit of time to kind of visualize that stuff. And by using something like a Leonardo AI, it's not perfect, but in this case, we were able to help quicken the briefing process to say this is what I want, and refining it through the chat. How did I come across it? It was just staying curious and stumbling upon it. I think I learned about Leonardo AI through some of the newsletters that I've signed up to. But really, it's just being curious about your industry and trying as many things as you can on the job. How about you, Charlotte? How do you typically kind of learn stuff? I know you've always got like 4 or 5 things on the go at any given time.
That's so interesting you say that because I think I admit that learning on the job is probably the most effective way to do it. And in a lot of time, I also, similar to you, I try my best to get the opportunity to learn on the job itself. But in a lot of time, I find it a little bit hard to assess for those opportunities, especially at the beginning of it. So for me, that's why it's mainly, and also I'm a little bit kind of a thinking by the book person at the beginning. So I like to learn things from the system level to be able to going down to the specific details. So there's really depends on content. There's a 4 major way, I guess, how I learn stuff. So number 1, the most easy way is learning from the peers. For example, like this podcast. I feel like every single conversations with you, every single time when we come up with a new topic, we have to do research around it. For me, this is a part of learning because and also I feel like this is the most accessible one. And this peer can be yourself, like you are my colleague as well, and there's other colleagues I will be able to reaching out to who are probably facing similar kind of challenges they have. And then sometimes, a lot of time, if I couldn't find people in the like in a workspace have like familiar with a particular like topic, I might go to a community as well. There's plenty of product kind of meetup outside, and also I will be reaching out to my old colleagues to get help in that way. And then the other kind of something a bit more complicated. For example, recently I think I kind of moved from individual contributor to a big kind of product leadership role, and then there is a little bit stretch, a little bit of my existing like a comfort zone there. So for me, the way how I learn in that space, I actually reaching out to a lot of CPO and the VP of product in the industry to learn from some of these coaches and the experienced leaders from the industry as well. So that's my second way, is actively looking for coaches and leaders. And then also I do like formal training as well.
Yeah.
Sometimes one of the benefits for formal training is I think it gives me a little more holistic like kind of understanding about the end-to-end. So especially for AI at the beginning of it, to be very honest, like about 6 months ago, I probably couldn't distinguish between what is machine learning, what is deep learning, and what is kind of these new AI things. What is Gen AI? What are other type of AI? I wouldn't know. I have no clue. So I feel like if I directly jump into the doing mode, it wouldn't. I will feel more confused. I don't think I will be able to learn. I don't think I will be learning effective that way. So for me, I actually signed up quite a few kind of AI courses on the Udemy and the Coursera, basically, just for me to have some foundation to be able to learn about these terminology there.
Yeah, I love touching on so many topics we can kind of unpack more of, right? But what really resonates is, as a product manager, it's such a broad topic or a broad skill set, anything from kind of technology to design to psychology to kind of systems thinking and how teams work. It's like, and that's what I love about the job, right? The learning really never ends. But one thing that comes to mind is, have you heard of the term Shu Ha Ri?
Yeah. Oh well. This is just to bring up all the coaches, like James. Yeah, well, I do know about the term, but I would. But if you like, if you feel free to explain that to the audience. But to be very honest, this is actually my learning mental model, start from Shu, and then Please explain the concept to the.
I didn't. It just occurred to me as you were talking about it, but it's so it's a concept borrowed from martial arts and I think pro karate, and it kind of encapsulates 3 levels of learning and mastery, right? In Shu, you're learning by the book, and you're kind of doing the forms as you're practicing the martial arts in this case, and you're just kind of it feels silly because it's your first time doing it, and you're just doing it kind of by the book so that you can get better at the basics, right? In Ha, you're basically you're doing the forms and you're doing it well, and you basically mastered what the book says, right? And then you
can customize it. You can add in your own flavor into it, and the play with it, innovator is part of you. That skill become part of you.
Yeah, exactly, right. So compare that to kind of a lot of what kind of Western views is. It's kind of like you're jumping. It's a big jump from Shu to Ha, right? But then the even bigger jump to Ri is you've kind of understood and digested the principles of what you're trying to learn, and it becomes the fabric of yourself, and everything you do becomes is a representation of that skill, right?
I really want to talk a little bit more about the Ri part. Actually, that's actually, I feel like this is a secret for learning. Is actually when you go to the Ri part, because the Ri part of Ri part is when you become the master, you will be able to actually teaching other people, share back. So I read so much like what do you call YouTube video, thought leadership work. They said a lot of thought leader. To be very honest, selfishly for us to doing this podcast is an opportunity for us to learn. The reason for that, the process for sharing and teaching other people about a concept, that's actually the best way to learn. And then also there's a saying that if you can't explain something in a simple term, that means you probably don't get it. So sometimes it's so hard to put something complicated into a simple term. And that's kind of a key craft.
Learning by teaching. That's amazing.
Yeah. So that's a whole Ri. That's a whole Shu Ha Ri. So
Yeah.
that's why I think I'm really glad you actually mentioned about the framework. That's and then as well because that is actually a very fundamental kind of learning process there
Yep. Yep.
as well.
Any other ways you typically learn, aside from kind of learning from peers, learning from coaches, and kind of formal learning?
Well, yeah. Well, again, I have a lot of informal learning. I don't know if it's a good thing though, because at the moment the reality is that life is so busy, and then you will have a lot of fragments of time just between you go to the meeting, and then sometimes when you're making coffee, and then when you're going out for walk, and just have a short period of time. Again, this is something I'm still experimenting. I don't know if it's good. Sometimes I feel like maybe people actually need some of this gap. You don't have to fill in any of this gap as well. That's on one hand. But on the other hand, the reality is sometimes I would just wanted to go to the social media like application. And I feel like that's even worse. So that's why now I'm forcing myself for all those small kind of moments. I force myself to do something more productive. So I actually download a few kind of this learning app, and I download some of these iBook just on my phone, and I make them giant in my phone screen. So every single time when I wanted to click into the social media pages, I just force myself to click into the iBook.
Yeah.
Even just to read 3 minutes of the iBook, I will read the iBook.
That's a really good life hack. And oh man, attention, the fight for attention is just a whole new ball game. Thank you for sharing that tip though. That's a really good one.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's a successful rate is as high as I would love to be,
Yeah.
but at least it's a yeah. At the end of the day, I definitely noticed. Yeah, so I read a little bit more, I guess, than if I don't do this way. But it also causing quite a lot of anxiety as well, because if you're using this really small session of the time to learn, generally you won't be able to, you don't have a lot of time to go deep in your thinking. Sometimes you might find a very interesting concept in either your learning app or your book, to say, oh, I really should do a bit more research around that. You just have a placeholder there, but sometimes you forget about it. So I feel like I haven't mastered around that informal learning, but at least it's a way to learn.
Yeah.
Well, Kia, for you, what's actually, like, we're talking a lot about very effective way to learning by on the job, learning like formal learning, all these sort of different learning from peers. But what's the learning approach that you find it doesn't work for you?
Like I said before, school
You did mention.
was not, I didn't do too bad, but having understood that I was on the spectrum of ADHD at a younger age, I always wondered why I couldn't just sit down and kind of read something unless I was really, really interested in it. And so for me, both the challenge and the opportunity is one of the challenges. I can't just sit down and digest information unless I was really, really interested in it. But the opportunity is, if I was really interested in a topic, I would do whatever it took to actually try and learn it, including trying to jam it into my day-to-day job.
Yeah.
As an example, I learned A/B testing not because I needed to do it on the job in my early days of being a web producer and UX designer, but because I was just curious and wanted to know how to use the tools and see what difference it would make to the web traffic and so forth. So I just forced myself to use those tools on the job. Recently, I always knew about Wardley mapping as an example, and it was always really fascinating, but never really got a chance to kind of really deep dive into it. And then someone else at work kind of brought it up, and I was like, "Oh, let's nerd out about it." And I just kind of we sat down together and just mapped out like different scenarios of Microsoft in the 80s. How did they succeed? Oh, here's the actual layout of the land, right? And really, it's just like doing it without consciously feeling like it's learning. That's my trick.
Oh, that's so cool. The curiosity really driving you to get somewhere.
Yeah.
So there was a concept you mentioned a while ago, which is kind of linked with the story you just mentioned. Like it's called zoom of genius and zoom of competency. Like, do you want to tell like me a little bit more about that?
Yeah. So it's a based on a book by Gay Hendricks called the Big Leap, and it talks about four zones: your zone of incompetence, zone of competence, zone of excellence, and genius. Right. So in competence and competence is kind of like Shu and Ha, like I mentioned earlier. But the key distinguishing point between zone of excellence and genius is excellence is stuff that you're good at but don't get energy doing, whereas zone of genius is stuff that you're good at and get energy doing. And I think the point you're trying to kind of correlate is taking a step back, the basically the book, one of the key points of the concept is, if you really want to be successful in life, focus on the things that you're good at and gives you energy, because you're just going to get better and better at it.
Okay. Did the book mention anything around how to find out about this zoom of genius for you?
So I won't spoil the book for you, but the short of it is, I think it's very obvious when you do the things you love and become good at it. And it's often the people in your life, and particularly in work, will ask you to do things, right? And it's going to be very obvious to you which parts of that you love and which parts you don't.
Sometimes it's not as obvious as it is. That's actually one exercise I do ask a lot of my team member to do, at the moment, because it is actually a common thing. I have junior product managers come to me to say, I actually don't know what I like about the job. I actually not sure why I'm in the product management anymore at the moment. I think it's a cool job. I don't really know why I like it. So that's actually one exercise I ask them to do, is to write down at the end of the day about what you love about it, what give you like energy today, and about every single day or end of the day, what are the activity that drain your energy, you really feel like the energy being taken away. So after then doing this journal for a period of time, that's when they be able to come back to me to say, oh, okay, now I understand which part of the job I really like, but which part of it I don't like. But I just when you mentioned that, I just thought, oh, it's actually not something that I feel like people naturally know. There will be period of time when I go into a new domain, I actually don't know if I like it or not. I feel like it's neutral.
That's a really interesting one. I'm going to propose something. I don't know if it's true or not. I think it's true for me, which is when you do work that aligns with your purpose, you can get satisfaction in it, regardless of whether the task itself is enjoyable.
Yeah.
And our role as coaches and leaders is to help people identify and find that purpose for themselves, or not reveal it for themselves.
Yeah. Okay. That's a bigger conversation. I definitely thinking there is if the value and purpose align, everything else is easier follow. I do agree with that. I think from the macro level, that's actually the most important thing, and which is also the hardest task it is, because again, finding purpose for different person to finding purpose in their life, it's a very hard task. It's basically any single human's whole life kind of journey is around. They might find the purpose of a period of time, they lost it. When they go through another chapter of their life, they lost it. And also a lot of them, it's very, very hard. It's a very, very big ask. That's something I learned as well, because I'm someone who is always trying to get the best out of the, I guess, myself every single day. I want myself to live with the full potential. But a lot of time, there's something about I learned along the way. Sometimes purpose is a really big word. job itself may not be very hard to be the single places to fulfill all your purpose. So that's the macro level. But I do agree with you. If you are lucky one, your purpose and the value and the 100% aligned with what you do, that's a really, really, really lucky thing. You should really cherish that, and it should be a journey, a vision that everyone should fighting for. But then underlying, you do have some micro level. You do some of the certain tasks. They will give you certain fulfillment, where other tasks doesn't.
Yeah, and you're right. It's probably like hearing what I just said in my mind. It's like it's a bit grandiose, and purpose is probably agree. It's probably a very strong word, but I think what I was trying to get is when you take back to the concept of product management, you're really one person in a team, and you're an enabler of that team to achieve a mission, right? Unless everyone's aligned on that mission, and everyone agrees that is worth their investment of time and energy in doing to achieving, I think it once you can get that alignment, you're as a group, the ability for that team to kind of outperform other teams is so much better and easier. I think that's the coach element of being a product manager, right?
Yeah, no, 100%. That makes sense. That totally makes sense. That's how you learn. I think if we go back to our original point about the learning, yeah, you're right. Everyone probably should try to find out that opportunity to realize that how important it is to align with your kind of what you do with what you're passionate about, and that's a really good goal. I do have a follow-up question regarding to that, because in our industry, especially in the consulting world, like fake it until you make it is such a common thing. Literally everyone when you join the team, regarding what level level it is, there's always a new domain coming in. They just ask you. But then for me, there's always an insecure around these words. I really don't really know how I feel about this word, to be very honest. So what's the right balance, I guess, in your opinions, between like I'm just going to fake it, I know a particular knowledge for a certain period of time while I'm learning it along the way, which is a good thing? Or do you or in what situation I should actually just be upfront to say, I don't know about this thing, give me some time and let me learn about this thing to be good at it? What's your experience around these kind of phases?
Yeah, I don't think there is a black and white, right? and I think there are certain zones of competence and incompetence where you're safe to do that because the knowledge is just a simple Google search away. And now with things like ChatGPT, it can really bridge the gap very quickly. Whereas if the situation arises where you're outright lying, hey, can you perform open heart surgery to this person tomorrow? Well, you have to be honest with the person you're dealing with and say, hell no, I'm happy to kind of support or work with someone who has more experience. But it's got courses for courses. You just got to have to judge the risk and be honest about whether you can deliver that outcome, right?
Yeah, because I feel like GPT make it even worse at the moment. Like literally, if you ask people, do you know something, and then asking people to provide a particular like a kind of insight for you. Before, people will still fake it, but then they probably the effort for them to fake it is a bit higher, and then they have to do some research. They have to basically put something together. Literally now it's okay for this particular topic. It's especially like what you say. It's like low kind of risk kind of a topic.
Yeah.
People are just going to make up. So of course I'm the expert in that, but the real expert in that situation probably is the Chat GPT.
But I think this is where experience is really important, right? Because you can, using A/B testing as an example, you can kind of A/B test how to. You can use ChatGPT to kind of help you define how to do a test, and the criteria to test and whatnot. But experience is what's going to tell you whether you should do that test in the first place. And given your website only has 1,000 visitors a month, you will never even get to statistical significance. So don't bother, right?
That's true.
And so, yeah, I think it's great because faking till you make it gives you the permission to learn, but it doesn't, I guess. Having someone on the team who actually has done it before is always going to be better. If it's not yourself, leverage and work with someone who's actually done it before is a safer bet. If you can get it.
That's very interesting. It's interesting to say that because for me a lot of this is like a personal journey as well. It's I feel there's always a dilemma for me to say, well, when people say, do you know this particular topic? I will be unless a lot of topics I probably know 60% of it because of we are generalists in the way, right? Because product manager we're always on the lookout for new things coming in. We always know everything probably around 60-70% initially when it's coming out because we're really somewhere. One day we go into the rabbit hole. We kind of know enough the terminology in the place to
be dangerous.
To be dangerous, exactly. But if you say, when people say, do you actually know it? It's always a very, very difficult answer for me to answer as well, because then the reality is, the last 40% can take other people probably years of the degree to really mastering it. Because the whole 80-20 rules, you might be easy to get to a certain level quite quickly, but then the rest of it is literally the master. And I also don't want it to come across as the kind of arrogant person to just like, I know about this, but then it's just undermining a lot of other people who are spending a lot of time in the domain. So that's something I always I'm always a bit mindful around about the whole fake it until make it things. And then so I don't have a solution at the moment. I probably just be honest with them to say, well, I read a bunch of a Reddit posts around that, but if you can give me just a little bit of opportunity to experiment around it, I'm sure it's going to be better. But I do notice if I say that, a lot of time I will miss the opportunity to actually do the job. Because for other people, if they say, oh, actually, I'm very experienced around that, when they actually don't, generally they get the opportunity to do that. So for me, it's always a fine balance to figure out what's the right way, I guess, to approach that.
Yeah, I do find honesty is almost always the better option, and it just depends on your level of comfort dealing with uncertainty, right? So
yeah, true. And also that's about the living with your value of things as a purpose as well. In long term, I 100% agree with you. I said what I should do in those moments. I just said should tell myself is I wanted to work in this particular value, live with this value is actually something, honestly, is a value really important to me, and humble and honesty is a value very important to me. And then even I might lose some short-term kind of battle and opportunity, but in long term, I do believe it's something valuable to me.
Hey, slight change of course. Let's talk about how you find time to learn. How do you find time to learn, Charlotte? You're the busiest person I know.
That's a really interesting you say that. But that was actually my opening questions as well, by the way. I will be keen to hear how you guys stay on the top. But I guess one thing one thing I'm doing is learning through different approach, different channel. I feel like it's helpful because if you're continuously, no one these days will have 2 hours per day to just doing the proper courses anymore. I think, there's a lot of people who do that. I really respect that. But the reality for me is I think diversify of my learning channel to have this conversation with you as a part of learning, to find opportunity on the job to learn, and also using all my fragment times during the coffee break and work to do a little bit training courses. I'm doing, which I can recommend. Another one, I'm doing actually full stack developer courses at the moment on my phone, purely just using the app called Mimo.
Oh, that's cool.
And it's almost like Duolingo kind of experience. But every single day I just need to do 10 minutes, and so I don't break my streak. And then I will be able to build the whole kind of application just using the tool on my phone.
So it's gamified, really good for people like me who have ADHD.
100%. It's super good. They also have AI topic and also other topic as well, but they literally gamify the whole thing. But for me, and also I also regularly reaching out to people when I'm stuck to just have a coffee, have a conversations, and then like around it. So yeah, but to answer your question is, I don't think I'm mastering yet, but the way how I managing to diversify my learning channel just to make it a bit easier to, I guess, to distribute my time in that way.
Yeah, nice.
What about you? How do you find time to learn? How do you manage in that?
Well, it's hard, right? I've got those that know me well. I've got two little kids, both very, very young. So any time that's not work is pretty much consumed by kind of taking care of them. But I think most people will be familiar with the zero time concept of when you're kind of doing stuff that's not requiring 100% of your attention. I find listening to podcasts is always a good one. And I'm also exceptionally bad at prioritizing myself. So whatever, I guess it's going back to the earlier theme. It's whatever interests me the most when I do have the time. And I stumbled upon this purely by accident, not because I was intentional in any way, but I think it's helped me out for my career quite a lot in the sense that, you know, going back to the zone of genius kind of point, like I thought I'd be a marketer coming out of uni, right? I studied marketing, but I just happened to have been interested in design. In the past, was never good at drawing or anything growing up, but then I studied graphics design. Couldn't get in. I studied marketing. I did a kind of graphics design 101 class while I was at uni. Put 101 together, and I couldn't get into marketing at the early stages of my career, and I got into web content, which then got me into digital, right? But hadn't I have not just shown that extra curiosity in the design space and just kept the marketing as an example, it would have never opened doors. And I think you hear a lot of people advising others about, hey, don't try to curate your career too much, because it'll probably turn out differently, but it'll turn out better than you ever thought. Like, it is so true.
What's that mean? I actually don't understand what's the phrase mean.
Like, off the top of my head, I can't remember who. I hear it all the time. People who are further on in their career give the advice that you don't want a too clear of a plan for your career, because it will probably turn out different, but it'll turn out better.
Yeah, got it. Actually, there's a similar analogy around that. It's a visual one I see. It's that your career is like a river.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have to go with a flow. You may feel like you are going backwards, but it's actually just going through a turn. It's actually a way to forward. But when you're going forward, it may be a small detour just on the corner there.
Yeah.
So it's like it's like a river. But it's always flowing forward.
Yeah.
As part of the river.
Yeah, so I guess the point is, if it interests you, and even if it is a little bit esoteric, like, just follow that thread, right? Because at a very minimum, you'll get a new hobby, right?
Oh, 100%. And also, especially, again, I don't know what's the age of our listener. Like, for people who are in the part of middle age like us, like, hobby becomes almost like a luxury and something really important in life. Like, I guess, like, in this period of time, is what keep you sane, what keep you kind of bring you a lot of joy as well. I think when you're younger, people generally have a lot of hobby, and that people don't stick to it, and it doesn't matter. People kind of throw it away. When I was younger, I tried 3,000 things. I feel like there's no shame for me to stop anything. But then when you go to a certain period of time, as what you say, Kiet, like, life and the family can get really busy. You have very limited resource of time. Having a hobby you truly love, and then and then to be able to get yourself leaning in to get, like, I think just so helpful. Okay, I was just thinking about maybe last questions of this particular podcast. So, is there any I guess recommendations or interesting learning materials that you would like to share with our audience? Maybe we should share one thing each.
Yeah, sure. Podcast I'm listening to, really loving it. It's called Gamecraft by Mitch Lasky and Blake Robbins. It is basically a MBA level kind of masterclass in business models, but specifically for gaming, right? It's just like a double click into the gaming industry and the history of it. Absolutely love it, learn heaps. You don't have to be a game nerd to get a lot out of it, but I am, and it also helps. So.
Okay, you answer my question. I was like, are they non-gamer friendly as well? But yeah, okay, sounds like they are.
Yeah, absolutely. Like Mitch Lasky is like a legend in the industry, right? He was ex Disney, Activision, EA, all the kind of big names. He was involved in the funding of Snapchat, Discord, the original Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, Clash of Clans. His CV is just ridiculous.
That's incredible. Oh my god.
How about you, Charlotte? What are you listening to at the moment, or what do you recommend?
Okay, advice. Okay, I might give a advice, because I already mentioned about the product that I would like to recommend. But I think one advice really is people always forget about it. Always thinking about I need to learn for a master. Like talk to your peers. I think learning from your peer mentoring is actually a really, really effective way to learn as well. That's one of the things that I personally get a lot from doing this podcast, or talking to a lot of other of the peers in a community. So that's number one thing I just wanted to strongly recommend everyone. Like try to learn from the peers, talking to your peers, and when you get started, asking for help. And the other thing was literally the mobile app I just mentioned about. It's called Mimo. That's why it's have a look at it. It's a like literally Duolingo kind of a coding experience, and everything is fully mobile. Of course, you can using some of the coding exercise. If you prefer keyboard, you can using keyboard, but you really don't have to. I literally go through the whole website building exercise just using my phone. They make it really, really smart and easy to use, and then on the mobile, and they really get you kind of hooked as well. So yeah,
cool.
This is what we have today for everyone. So thank you so much for listening. I'm looking forward to, again, I know we have a Reddit kind of community as well. I will be looking forward to hear what are our audience current way of learning, what are some of the challenges you are facing as well.
And we'll share some of the links to some of the topics we've spoken about today.
Yes. All right. Thank you so much for listening. I'll catch you guys soon.
See you, everyone.